You're looking at position 158 on the Mac App Store. Want to guess how many downloads that is? 8. Just 8 downloads. But this is what really happens when you release your app on the Mac App Store in 2024. My name is Adam Lyttle. I'm an independent app developer and recently became debt-free building and releasing apps on the App Store. Now I share my journey and the process to building my own apps. It all started with my live streams. Recently, I've been going live with the development process of building my apps. It's been such a fun process, but the feedback I kept getting back was my Australian accent is a little bit hard to understand. So I set out to look for a live captioning app that would automatically add captions to OBS and to my live streams. The issue, the captions are kind of boring. They're just text at the bottom of the screen and they keep running as long as I'm talking. So I set out to create really nice, dynamic, in-your-face captions that will appear live as I'm talking on stream. But I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Here's how I thought it was going to play out. I'd get my original iPhone app, Best Auto Captions. I would copy the code into a Mac app, Live Auto Captions. Instead of pulling captions from a video, it would just pull captions from the live audio feed. Simple, right? And that's when I reached my first challenge. Even with my microphone muted, it was still showing captions on my live stream. There was a couple of instances where I had a conversation off camera, my microphone was muted, but I looked up to find my private conversation was being captioned at the bottom of my live stream. What was going on? I thought it was something to do with the way that audio was transcribed from text, and I thought it might have been the way that the Macintosh will always listen to the microphone while you're transcoding so that if you did have your microphone muted, you could still do text-to-speech on your app. But this wasn't the case. What really happened was the microphone was set to my Macintosh speakers. So although I was using this microphone to talk on my stream, the transcoding of subtitles was being pulled from the microphone on my MacBook. It goes without saying, if the microphone is muted, it should not show captions on screen. The solution should have been simple. Create a settings dialog that lets me change which microphone the input is pulled from. But it's not that easy. With anything to do with building on the Mac, if you want to do the thing, it works. But if you want to do something with a little bit more complexity, it is difficult. I ended up spending a whole day trying to select the input device within the app, only to work out this is not going to work, and just showing in the settings dialog box a link to the system settings to change the input device. It's not the ideal way, but for version 1.0, that's how I'm going to release it. And this was just the first of many issues that I experienced building this app. I had this constant tension of releasing an app by the end of the month and compromising on the features and functionality to get to that date. If I shipped the perfect product, it would be delayed and I would probably just have another snowballing product that I spent months building. And I did it. I got it. I got the app released by the end of October. Hooray! To my deadline with some of the features compromised, but it works. It's got the live captions and it works. The launch went smooth for all of around 2 hours. That's when I started to receive some of the bug reports. It turns out when you put your AirPods on, Mac will automatically select them as the default input device. If you take the AirPods off, it crashes. If you put the AirPods on, it crashes. If you go to system settings to change the input device, it crashes. This was bad. The simple solution was simply to turn off all captioning while it detects a change and restart it again within 1 to 2 seconds of detecting a change in input. This stopped some sort of weird conflict where the app was trying to access 2 devices at once. Regardless of this issue, the app was being downloaded. It reached 158 in the App Store charts on the first day of launch. But here's what nobody tells you about the Mac App Store. It's a barren wasteland. For me to rank 158 in the first day with only 8 downloads suggests not a lot of people are using the Mac App Store to download apps, especially in a category like photo and video. Comparatively, if I was to launch the app on the iPhone, it wouldn't rank 158 in the App Store charts without hundreds or even thousands of downloads. My initial thought was that people weren't going to search for my app on the App Store, and I would have to be focusing on SEO to educate people that my app even exists. But these numbers suggest to me that there's just not many people downloading any apps on the Mac App Store. So was this all a waste of time? I had so much fun building this thing. It was such a visual and fun thing to build live on stream. I had contributions from regulars that were tuning in and helping me code it, helping me find solutions, and providing real-time feedback as I was building it. I've talked about this previously, but when you're live building and live coding, you get that feedback loop instantaneously. You can put a design up on the screen and say, hey, what do you think of it? Does it work good like this? Or does it work good like that? Or someone will say, have you considered doing it this way? And that feedback loop that I would usually get from releasing an app and waiting for bug reports, waiting for user feedback, it closed it in. I was able to get feedback instantly as I was building it. And that is kind of a game changer and really fun, actually. And I also discovered a lot about building Mac apps. I think this app is so niche and so specific to my own use case that not spending a whole lot of time and spending months building this thing was the right way to go. This is just something that scratched my own itch. If it works well for others, they can download it too. In the future, I'm going to be targeting apps that have a version that could be released on the iPhone and the Mac at the same time, if I was to go down the path of building a Mac app anyway. This means that the code I'm using for the iPhone will mostly be recycled on the Mac, and I won't be spending a lot of time rebuilding everything from scratch. Or so I hope. There's just not users looking for apps on the Mac App Store. I don't think it's a viable distribution channel on its own. I can build an iPhone app, I can rank it well, and I can get endless people downloading it, subscribing, and just a residual income coming in just from ranking well. That's not the case on the Mac App Store. I can rank well, but it's just not going to have the same volume or the same number of people downloading as the iPhone. And maybe the Mac App Store is still new. Maybe people aren't conditioned to jump onto the Mac App Store to download apps yet. Or maybe if you're early enough, you will position yourself. So in a few years' time, when people are looking for apps on the Mac App Store, they've conditioned themselves to go onto the App Store. But now is not that time. And it's really telling that you can't seem to put ads on the Mac App Store to promote your app. Anytime that I've browsed through the App Store, there's no advertisement, there's no sponsors anywhere. And that's kind of an admission from Apple that there's just not enough people searching on this thing to even warrant creating sponsored listings and sponsored results.